Warning, the following program contains adult language, adult themes, and spoilers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good evening and welcome to this week's episode of This Week's Episode. I'm your host this week, Karen Randazzo, and with me as always is Edwardian schoolboy ghost with a gift for magic, Kris Randazzo.
I hope both the old guys drop dead.
Dead 80s punk with a magic backpack and cricket bat, Evan Goldstein.
This is going to suck for both of us.
And psychic medium with a demonic ex, Angie Fernot.
You know I can totally hear you, right?
This is episode 278 for the week of July 3rd, 2024. My last pick turned out to be more than meets the eye, so this time I picked a show that's exactly what it says on the tin. So we'll be discussing Dead Boy Detective, Season 1, Episode 1, The Case of Crystal Palace. But before we get to that, here's your weekly reminder that you can get in touch with us at mail@geekaid.com. Tell us what magical disguise you'd choose. Tell us if you've talked to any cats lately and what they said. Tell us about your demonic ex. Tell us anything you want. Just make sure that you put this week's episode in the subject line, because we always want to hear from you, the listener. So, guys, how's it going?
Hey.
Hi.
Hey.
The fact that you kept saying demonic ex just makes me laugh because we had an event.
We didn't tell them.
No.
So, I'm proud to report that Evan is a very confident man. And I don't think I've really talked about it on this podcast, but Evan used to be friends with my ex through me. Like, we all used to kind of hang out together sometimes.
We know.
And he wasn't always the kindest person in our relationship. And, you know, we parted on good terms, but it was definitely my decision to part. And I saw him for the first time since we split up almost 8 years ago?
8 years now.
Yeah. So we were at a convention and Evan was visiting a friend, and that person, the ex, showed up, and Evan was like, hey, man, you should go to the table and say hey to Angie.
Actually, I was looking my friend dead in the face, and we were having a conversation, and I turned to my right, and I see your ex, and I turn back to my friend, and I go, oof, and I turned to the ex again and go, man, this is going to be awkward, and I shook his hand. It was so weird.
But the thing that was incredible is that he has done so much learning and growing and really put in a lot of effort to become a much better person. And I'm really freaking proud of him. And he ended up spending an hour at our table. I gave him a hug when he left. We had a great time. We laughed, we chatted, we joked. When I tell you, that felt like such a personal growth moment, holy crap. I could not believe it. And again, for Evan to be the confident, first of all, to have faith in me that I wasn't going to just fall apart or turn into a puddle. But then to also be man enough to be like, yeah, dude, come say hey, and not even be slightly worried. That's pretty cool in my mind.
You, Missy, had a fantastic growing weekend during, what was that?
Heroes Con.
Heroes Con. I mean, you did art on stage live.
Yep. I accosted one of my art heroes in a parking lot.
Literally, ran down the blocks, waving her arms sort of and yelling his name.
Yep.
It was really weird. A stranger turned to me and said, is that your wife? And I went, yeah. And he goes, man, she's got bigger balls than I do. As she was running down the block yelling, Danny Warren Johnson. Danny Warren Johnson.
Daniel Warren Johnson.
Daniel.
So his name is Daniel Warren Johnson, also known as D-Dubs, also just known as Daniel. I don't know what's wrong with me that I just couldn't. It's a thing. It flows. And he walked by me in a parking lot. And last year I tried so hard to meet this man. And so like, I just kept choosing the wrong times, and I would go to the table. He'd either have too long a line, or he'd be busy, or he wouldn't even be there. And I was like, all right, this year, if I get the opportunity, I will go look at the table, and I will, take my chances and whatever, and I'll stand in line if I have to because Evan's there. And then we saw him in the parking lot, and I was like, nah, game on, motherfucker. So I just said, fuck it, I'm going for it. It'll be quick and easy, and then I don't have to linger at his table and feel awkward or whatever. Like, I could just say my piece and fucking walk away. And that's what I did. And then the next day I'm on stage painting, not realizing that he's peeking around the corner looking at the piece while I'm working on it. And I'm in like the ugly stage. Like, every painting has like a fuck you, it's hideous stage, and you kind of like question your own abilities. And while I'm sitting there working on this fucking piece, he pokes his head around, and I'm like, oh, don't look at me. And then he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm just kidding, but he doesn't know me. He doesn't know that. So he like runs away.
Scurried away.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, I just chased off Daniel Warren Johnson. Like, oh, what kind of monster am I? I had a whole existential crisis. And then he finally ends up, he's also painting on the stage, because the stage is obviously it's a stage, but it's in a center area so that you can be on either side. So they have,
it's pretty much in a round kind of thing.
Yeah. So they have two main areas, but you can see it from all four sides. So it's rows of 3. So you can have 6. They've had like 7 or 8 people on the stage at a time, but it's usually about 6. And I was on one end, there was a guy in the middle, and then Daniel Warren Johnson ended up on the other side of that guy. So I finally finished my painting. We're wrapping up. They give us like a 10-minute warning. And I stand up and I go look at it, and he's painting this absolutely breathtaking Transformers piece. Like, it's stupidly good. And he's doing it in acrylic too. So he's not even doing just ink. He's like fucking just going for it with this acrylic. He's got layers. It's energetic. It's beautiful. And I just walk up to him and I'm like, God, that thing is such shit. And he goes, I know, right? But I was like, I literally just walk up to, so first I accost him, then I embarrass myself, and then I talk shit to him. I was like, what is this man going to think of me? Because if he's at HeroesCon next year, you can bet your ass I'm going to go say hey and be like, you remember me?
So you know how I every once in a while can say to John Wesley Ships, hey, and he goes, you're the guy who said I smelled good? Like, you're going to have that with Mr. Johnson. Yeah,
well, one of his people was like at our table saying hey, because he liked the piece I painted. I painted a Godzilla. And it was really funny because like I started talking to him a little bit about that story, and he's like, oh, you're that girl. So like,
I'm so sorry.
So I apparently have a reputation now. I don't know if it's a good one, but I've got one.
Listen, I love all of this for you.
The point of the story is, if any of you are fans of comics and happen to know Daniel Warren Johnson, please tell him I'm sorry. I deeply respect him. I really love his art, and I'm going to be buying yet another copy of Murder Falcon to give to a friend in the coming days. So I really we've already done the math. We've gifted 4 copies. This will be our 5th copy that we're gifting to someone. We don't even own a copy because we just keep giving it away and turning people on to his art. So
art and story.
Yeah. Phenomenal. Oh, God. So, I hope that does something to make me, I don't know, seem less crazy, but I hear myself, so. How are you guys?
Pretty good.
Chris had a birthday.
Good.
I know that.
You sure did.
It's true, I did. I was born.
Again? I've heard about that. It's scary.
He had a come to Jesus moment.
Did. I came, I saw, I left. So yeah, it was my birthday. It was a good time. I had a little party, some friends over. We
You have friends? Sorry, just kidding. Had to do it.
Had a couple of them. Had a Dan. There was a mix up with Dan where he insisted that Karen did not invite him, and then changed his tune a little bit.
Excuse me, but I had the receipts.
Yes,
That was
receipts
so
were there.
awkward.
He was. Well, technically, I didn't get invited. It's like, yeah, that's not what you said. That's okay. We all moved on. No, Dan was invited. He just didn't get the invite. But other than that, it was a fun party. I got my sister-in-law and my wife tag team bought me a pizza oven.
Oh yeah.
An outdoor pizza oven that I will be building tomorrow.
That's
Is it charcoal? Like, is it wood?
I don't know yet.
Okay, how about this? Let me ask this question.
The oven is
gas
not
involved?
made of wood, if that's what you're asking.
I
also does
believe
not appear
it
to be made
runs
of charcoal.
on. I believe it runs on pellet fuel.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it. I haven't gotten it out of the box yet. It's like,
Okay.
there's a big box in the kitchen. It's full of pieces. I haven't really read anything about it yet.
It showed up, and my sister was like, because she can't plan for shit. So, like, the day she was here, and that it was his birthday, she's like, I had a great idea for his present, but, like, I can't, whatever. So she, like, ordered it. She's like, it's gonna be late. I'm like, okay. But let me know how he likes it. So it shows up 2 days later, and I get my phone out and video him. And I'm, like, trying to get a suitable, sizable reaction. But he opens the box, and it is, like, immediately not clear at all what the hell this thing is. It's just, like, a bunch of pieces.
Asian writing.
There was, like, it's, ships in box, and I assumed there was, like, it came in this brown box that, said the company name and stuff on it. I'm assuming inside the brown box would be, like, a packaging box with a picture of the thing on it, but nope, that was the box.
oh my.
So eventually, like, it did say what it was on the side of the box that I had turned away from him in the video, and I was like, okay, I don't want to drag this video on forever, so why don't you just look at this other side of the box so you can see what it is.
Nice.
So that was neat, and that's going to be fun for me to build tomorrow, since I'm relatively caught up on work. And it was a good birthday. We just went out tonight for my annual Red Lobster birthday dinner.
I love it.
Your Red Lobster still open, still available?
Yep.
It
Yep.
is.
We were there.
Good.
There was lobster. It was red. On my
Was it? That's a good sign.
21st birthday, my girlfriend at the time decided that I needed to, she wanted to be the first person to buy me my first legal drink. And for some reason, we wound up at Red Lobster, probably because I love Red Lobster and I love their biscuits. So we went there, and she bought me this giant blue, disgusting drink, because she knew I was going to hate it anyway, so we were like, well, why not just buy the most absurd drink on the menu?
Got it.
So we did, and I hated it, and it just kind of became an annual tradition that every year on my birthday, go to Red Lobster. So I've been at it for, 22 years now? That's fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
I got the ultimate feast, which is what I usually get, because if you go to Red Lobster once a year, you just get the ultimate feast.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It was delicious. I'm very full. I'm very thirsty because there's a lot of salt. I've drank like a gallon of water since I've been home. Yeah, that's been my birthday, I think. Am I forgetting anything?
Did you have the biscuits?
Yes, I have more biscuits. I brought extra biscuits home.
All right, just making sure.
The biscuits are mandatory.
They're the best. They're so good.
Did you see the not Jon Stewart?
Yes, John Oliver.
John Oliver. They bought the contents of a Red Lobster to serve biscuits in the audience.
What?
Oh yeah, did you see the follow-ups though?
Yes.
I didn't. What were the follow-ups?
John Oliver is a bear with a giant ass.
So
yeah,
what happened
we
was...
can't do it justice. We can't do it justice. You just have to watch it.
Okay.
Real quick, he bought a Red Lobster. A bakery was upset. He propositioned them to make a specific type of cake featuring his face. They did.
Yeah, so really you don't have to watch all the episodes. Just like fast forward to the end, because that's when all this is happening. Like just fast forward to the last 5 minute bit at the end of a handful of episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually do like to watch it. I was behind.
Oh, well then yeah, watch them anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, then this will come up in your feed, and it will be a glorious thing. It's a wacky man.
He is, but I love it.
Yeah, I got the 1-2 punch of Father's Day and my birthday every year, so it's been a nice couple of weeks.
Nice.
I ate lots of good food, a Cheeto burrito, and I got my rainbow chip birthday cake.
That was okay.
You're feeling special. You're feeling loved.
Yeah, I'm feeling all those things. And a little gassy.
Good.
That was the next question.
Bloated. I feel a little bloated. Yes.
Yeah, definitely
full of love.
very full. Very, very full.
And on the flip side of that, I have survived the end of school / Father's Day and Chris's birthday.
Yes, indeed.
Which is a bit of a gauntlet for me every June.
June's a hell of a month.
It's always like, okay, we got to make everybody feel really special for the next couple of weeks. But
now
I did
mommy's
it,
going to curl up in a ball and die.
Everybody feels special, and now it's just back to regular life plus the stress of the kids being home. Boy, I tell you what, the government needs to do something about childcare, because the costs are astronomical and it affects everybody, and there are no winners.
It does not affect CEOs of major corporations that do not have children that need daycare. So just that's who it doesn't affect, so it won't get changed.
Correct.
I hate people. I hate them so much.
All right, so no politics when
Also
talking
correct.
about television. Let's move on.
Yes,
Hey,
let's
politics
talk
are
about
currently on television
really.
right now.
I
They're
know.
happening.
not where we are.
Oh, man. You want to talk about losing streaks. So Dan's a big Yankees fan. Karen's a Yankees fan. I'm a Phillies fan. Both of our teams getting whooped tonight. It makes me sad.
Oh, sorry.
Lost to the Marlins 7-4, and the Yankees are. It's the bottom of the ninth. They're currently down 9-2. Ouch.
Okay, no more sadness. Let's talk about TV. Hey, Evan,
Yes.
tell us about Fringe.
I am in the process. I don't know what drew me to this, but I started to do a rewatch of Fringe, and I probably have watched the first 3 episodes 42 times because I start a rewatch and then I fall off. But I really, really enjoy this show. It is so entertaining. It is so sci-fi. Not sci-fi. It is really good sci-fi television. And by far some of the best location transitions ever. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but every time they change from one spot, because it all happens in Massachusetts pretty much, every time they go from one location to another, it'll say the words of where they are, but they incorporate it into the image, usually in a 3-dimensional kind of way, and sort of worked in. It's not just text at the bottom, and it's really ingenious. There's codes and stuff that it's such a fun show, and it's really well done and acted well. I don't know why it's not more popular of a show. But yeah, I'm 7 episodes in now, and every once in a while we'll be watching on the couch and Angel sit down. It catches your attention and it brings you along. Good, really, really good storytelling.
Well, just remember too, hun, we did have a conversation about this with this was a show that started out really strong, but we've both watched it all the way through. Mm-hmm. And in later seasons, it does have some weird rough patches. So
it was one of those shows that I feel they were oh, you're doing really well. Stretch it out. Go more. Go more. It should have ended before it ended, kind of thing. But
still a great show. Not saying it isn't. I'm just saying we've talked about, we kind of understand why it might have gotten a bad rap at the end.
Yeah. I mean, people still talk highly of Lost, and that ended like hot garbage.
It's true. You're not wrong.
But yeah, that's what I've been watching, and I'm gonna stick with it. There's only 6 seasons, I think 5 seasons.
I thought it was 5, but I don't really remember.
I think
to be
it might
honest.
be 5. Yeah, and not for nothing, I noticed this as we were watching it. Joshua Jackson, the guy Dawson's friend, he is a decent actor. He got I don't know. a bad rap for being on like teen melodrama as much as he was, but he's actually a decent actor, especially being surrounded by, you know, like John Noble, the guy that Dr. Walter Bishop, his father character. I mean, that guy plays crazy really well, and like they play off of each other so well. They're both acting their asses off. So
very much the guy who played what was it? Denethor? Is that his name in Lord of the Rings? The crazy guy who set himself on fire and ran off a cliff.
I don't remember that much.
He was in Lord of the Rings.
Yes, I just clicked on his IMDb, Denethor.
Did I get that name right? Oh,
you sure
shit.
did.
I got a Lord of the Rings name right that wasn't one of the main characters. I feel like $1 million. I never get names right.
I like the fact that
Come
he's got
on.
2 separate credits for Lord of the Rings and then Lord of the Rings. Oh, no. No, I'm sorry. He played Denethor and then Denethor in the extended edition of The Two Towers. So Return of the King was, I guess, where that happened, the scene that you're thinking.
Oh my god, what a great death scene. Like, that dude went so crazy, he was about to set his kid on fire because he was out of his fucking gourd, and then he set himself on fire, and then he ran screaming off of a cliff into a gigantic battle. Like, there was this huge, crazy battle happening at the bottom of it. He runs off the cliff, his flaming corpse lands in the battle. That's the way to go.
What's that scream called, hon? Wilhelm?
Oh, yeah.
The Wilhelm scream.
Wilhelm scream?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I've been watching. What about you guys? Transition.
Yeah.
Segu.
I will go. We wrapped up the current season of Doctor Who. It's been a whole thing.
What does that mean?
So, it's not good, it's not bad. My disclaimer is I'm a Whovian for life, and I'll always love everything, even when it's bad, so.
Oh.
But, what the fuck?
Okay.
I am not saying do not watch it. I am just saying I think there's a point in every Whovian's fandom, and it's different based on your age, where you entered the show, how long you stuck with it, whatever, but every Whovian, I think, reaches a point in watching the show where they are just like, what the fuck is happening? And I think for, like, classic fans, it was when came back and it was a lot different, and classic fans were like, we don't like this. And then, when changed showrunners or changed doctors or, various plot points, for a lot of people, it was the Jodie Whittaker seasons.
Mm-hmm.
For me, this is the season that is just like, what is happening? I like it. I do. I just don't totally get it. I don't know how else to put it. It's very different. It's not bad, and it's still Doctor Who, but it's very different.
Okay.
Can we be more specific about why?
I'm foundering for words.
Doctor Who's not Doctor Whoing.
What does that
I
mean?
think that's the biggest difference for me.
Go
You
ahead.
know how the Doctor is just like, I'm here and I'm taking in the sights and the what's happening around me. I'm all very fascinated by all things that are life. But I know so much shit, and I'm going to solve the problems by being smarter than everyone else and just kind of figure shit out, say a bunch of absolute nonsense, versus polarity of the neutron flow, and save the day.
Got it.
And this Doctor does not have that confidence. There was like maybe one moment the entire season where he was like, I'm the Doctor. I will fuck your shit up, and I won't lift a finger to do it. I'm just going to be smarter than you. All the rest of it he never had that confidence of the Doctor. Like, he's great, and every now and then he'd show glimmers of it, but he never had those Doctor moments. It was like he was playing a different character.
And I think that it reflects, like, the consequences of the bi-generation storyline that they went to. Like, instead of the 14th Doctor dying and the 15th Doctor living, they split, and so the 14th Doctor is alive and the 15th Doctor is alive. And
The second David Tennant Doctor.
right. And it just feels like when they split, that like different parts of the Doctor went to different incarnations, and it's not bad. It's just very different. This Doctor and Ncudi's Doctor is like very like wide-eyed and very emotional.
Okay.
Lots of crying, Doctor.
Yes, he cries a lot, which is fine.
Not like openly sobbing, just like he'll be saying things, and he'll be like, his face is soaking wet, and that's not sweat. He's talk crying.
He is like very deeply emotionally affected by things. Where it's almost like just the complete opposite of Capaldi.
Okay.
Where Capaldi's Doctor was like,
mannequin.
he had Clara as his person to like care for him.
Mm-hmm.
This Doctor like does all the caring, and Ruby's like kind of like, okay, but also we got to fix things and find out what's going on. There was a big like story arc the whole season of who Ruby's mom is, because she was like left at a church when she was a baby, and they never knew who her mom was, and it kind of went from like, we don't know, but it's not that big a deal and we'll never know, to being the most fucking important thing in like, it turned on a dime. And it also like turned out that she wasn't really anybody, but that was why she was important. It kind of went around in a circle a lot.
It spun around and around until it landed in its own ass.
Like, she's important, but she's not important. She's nobody, but she's somebody. It's like, what is happening? I keep going back to that. They did, and also it feels a little lost in terms of whether we're like, we're starting fresh and nothing else has ever come before this, or like we are holding on to the past like with a death grip, because they did with Disney, they redid the numbering at season 1 again for no goddamn reason.
But wait, you're saying that in this season 1, Tennant still exists?
Yes. The end of the last special, like they regenerated and Tennant still exists. They like split into 2 people instead of Tennant dying and Gatwa coming to life. And he's off living with Donna and her family.
Aw, first off, but why?
Because he had so much trauma that he never had a chance to heal from, that they just let him like split off and go like have a happy life.
Interesting.
Wibbly wobbly timey wimey, which I'm okay with. A lot of people have a problem with this bi-generation thing. I'm fine with it. It's just everything is very weird and different and not bad, but
so usually, but is it good?
I can't say it's good, but I can't say it's bad. It's just very different. I feel like it's Doctor Who for a new generation. And I can't be mad at that. Like, if I'm mad at change, then I'm, a boomer and nobody wants that. So it should be allowed to change, but it's hard for me to get used to.
See, but with that being said, change is fine as long as it's change for a good reason and the quality of that change is apparent.
I would also just be kind and say, I married a boomer, okay?
I mean, I have the mentality of a boomer. Yes, I do, but I am still Gen X.
Evan is Gen X.
Give a shit.
Nah, I know, but I tease him all the time that he is an old
I am
fart.
a curmudgeon, but like, I understand things changing. Like, that's fine. Like, but like that perfect example. Why did they make it season 1? There is no reason for that. The only one is to make it so like it's season 1. You got to look at this. That is change for no reason.
It's the reason for the season.
So like
that's just marketing.
Yeah.
That's what that is. This is now on Disney Plus, and we don't have all the previous seasons on Disney Plus. So this is where you can start and not feel like you're missing anything.
So, like, the marketing is approaching it from a standpoint of this is a whole new thing. But the content, they're constantly making reference to not only previous seasons, but also classic Who.
You're telling me one of the other doctors is there?
Well, he's there, but he's not there. Like, he's not on the show.
All right, so on Disney Plus, there were, 3 specials?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there were 3 specials, and then this season.
Okay.
So the 3 specials don't count as numbered episodes, because fuck you, that's why.
Change.
So all I'm saying is that change with as far as the numbering and all that, that's just marketing nonsense. That, narratively speaking, the way the show is going is this is Russell T. Davies taking back over the reins after a long time not having the reins, and still being Russell T. Davies, but also kind of being a mess.
Yeah, and he's like, Russell T. Davies' thing is like, the stakes need to be the highest that they've ever been by the end of every season, which is, like, impossible to keep that pace. But
because, like, Moffat then was like, yeah, Moffat was then that, but they need to be even higher, which is like, I'm sorry, what? No. All of reality and every existence in the multiverse is at risk. How are we going to top that next season? All of every reality and even more multiverses and time itself and existence and atoms and matter is all at stake.
Hold my beer. Try this.
Settle down, will you? Calm down.
so this season, it was that there was the god of death, Sutek, who is a villain from the classic era, which was kind of amazing to see that brought back, and the voice actor who played him in the classic series was playing him again, and he's 91. So that's fucking amazing. But he had, like, attached himself to the TARDIS, but invisibly, and so everywhere the Doctor had been, he spread this, like, plague of death everywhere.
Wow.
And so when he unleashed it, like, Sutek killed everything everywhere. And they, like, escaped into this, like, alternate TARDIS that was a memory of a TARDIS and wibbly wobbly timey wimey. But the Doctor's solution was to trick Sutek and get a magic fucking leash on him, basically. And tether that to the TARDIS and then fly it through the time vortex, because if everything is dead and then we bring the god of death to everything that's dead, we're bringing death to death, and what is death to death? It's life. So we brought everything back. I was like, what is happening?
My back hurts
positives.
from that much stretching.
Actively making a negative. Stop it.
However, Sutek looked cool as shit, and the image of Sutek wrapped around the TARDIS was really cool. Like, the whole imagery was great of that situation. I thought that was really, really neat.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on. A lot of things are different. I feel like maybe they just haven't quite got everything figured out. And maybe they'll settle down a little bit in season 2. Like, every Doctor's first season is a little, like, kind of wild while they're finding their feet. But we do have to contend with the fact that Ruby Sunday's leaving the TARDIS, so
there's gonna be
they kind of wrapped her up, and we've already met the next companion, so...
That's what I was going to ask. Like, there's usually, before they get rid of a companion, there's one that's at least been hinted at. Like, so...
I liked it better than the last couple of seasons. I remember when Chibnall era started, we were like, yeah, this is great. Keep going. This is a lot of fun. This is a lot of interesting. And in my opinion, he didn't just drop the ball. He fucking spiked it in a swimming pool full of scorpions. Like, it was... That show just went so far off the rails of just being like, we're going to change everything. We're going to go back to the beginning of what the Doctor is. We're going to answer all the unanswered questions that gave the Doctor any mystery, and we're going to answer them with fucking nonsense. And I had a rough time watching the show, and like I never wanted to get to the point where I felt like watching Doctor Who was a chore, but that's kind of how I felt during the last season, and it was such a bummer because I liked the cast. They had the old dude who was on Law & Order UK as a fucking dude on the TARDIS. I should have loved every minute of this, but alas, I really kind of felt like it was a chore. And this season, for all its faults, was fun to watch.
It was very fun, and it was messy, and it was gutsy, and it was, as you said last time, aggressively queer.
Like, it less so towards the end. Like, the first couple episodes were just like, we are fucking gay. Are you not gay? This show's not for you. Fuck off, you straight people. We're fucking gay. We're gayer than gay. Shouted from the rooftops. It was aggressively queer. But then it just kind of like...
turned to I'm every woman.
It just kind of settled down with that stuff and started telling off-the-wall, wacky-ass sci-fi. And I was enjoying it for all of the nonsense that it hit. And there was like, there was this one episode that I really liked. That was this whole thing where Ruby got to like live through her entire life. And there was this like weird, creepy lady that was like a specific distance from her. And it all like circled around to eventually mean nothing. Like at the end, we never found out what the woman would say to everybody that would make them all run away. But we found out who the woman was. But then it all ultimately didn't mean anything because she got out of the time loop and everything went back to where it was. And I was like, that was fucking ridiculous. That was a really good episode, but it ultimately meant nothing. Or did it? Because this is Doctor Who, right? Anything could come back.
That's true.
And then in the season finale, they brought something back from that episode. Like Ruby knew something because of that whole alternate existence that she lived. And I was like, oh, they're going to do something. They're going to explain it. They're wrapping it back in. I'm in. And then they just let it go. It's like, here's the thing I know. How do you know that? I don't know. Well, I know how you know. Are we not going to touch on this? Apparently not. That made me mad.
So I say let Russell T Davies keep going, keep doing what he's doing, and just like settle down a little bit, dude. Like,
so
you were going in a lot of directions.
I'm looking at imagery from the Sutek episode, and there's this older woman that they're referencing, when it looks like that older woman turns into an older man who turns into an Egyptian god of some sort, which is all well and good. That's fine. But
very Doctor Who.
Very Doctor Who. The old version of Sutek, oh my God, chef's kiss. It's amazing.
Right?
Like,
I think I saw somewhere on social media somebody had shared like the original like prop of Sutek, like that's was in storage somewhere. I'm like, this is awesome.
It looks like a cardboard cutout of a character. If you like, you know what I'm saying.
It reminds me of Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Yes.
Yeah. Nice.
Anywho,
I mean it in the greatest way possible.
The lighting, it's amazing. Anywho, all right. Well,
so, I'd like to
Who.
say, like, can't wait to see what they do next, but, like, we're not getting more Doctor Who for, like, 2 fucking years, so...
But you're going to have to wait, because it's not coming
That's
soon.
not true. There's going to be a Christmas special in 6 months, so we'll see
so
what
the season
that brings.
is now over? The season's done?
Season's over. It ended last week, yes.
And how many episodes were in this season?
8?
Is that... Okay.
It says 9 because they counted one of the specials this
they
episode, and just making my head hurt, and I can't.
So, has Doctor Who always been a shorter show, episodically? Is it like usually like an 8-er?
13 episodes, I think.
Okay.
Season. So this is a shorter season, I think, than has been in the past, which bums me out because I always want more, even when it's crazy. Even when it's bonkers, even when it's like, I don't know what the fuck is happening, still want more.
Wow.
You're a true fan.
Yeah, she
I am. Yeah. I want to hear any of this nonsense from these fucking people on the internet.
What do they know?
That's just a
That's a
generalized
podcast
comment. Has
for
nothing
another
to do.
podcast.
Has nothing to do with Doctor Who. She just doesn't want to hear from people on the internet.
Correct. That's really my problem.
I get it. Here, sister.
Oh my god, you too. Anyway,
What do you got?
me?
Yeah.
Okay,
What have you been watching? Because I've been here. I really don't know.
That's because there hasn't been much. So for as per usual, if it hasn't become clear, I work a lot. Mm-hmm. And I've been spending more time probably out of the house and working than I have in the house with my husband. I'm sad. But I watched more of The Last of Us.
Okay.
And there was one episode that I really wanted to talk about. I considered actually making it my pick, but I don't know. I think it's not, usually when we pick stuff, I think it's because we really want to see if someone wants to be turned on to something. And if you guys do like it in the future, maybe I'll circle back. But this episode had Nick Offerman in it. It was the third episode, and it was almost like a standalone. It did not have to take place in this story. I don't know if this was something that had happened in the game, and I just don't know about it. As I mentioned last time, I've never played the game. But really, this was a single episode that was a beautiful love story, and it was started out with the small town somewhere in a more secluded area. The military's coming through, taking people out of their homes because, as I mentioned, this is like a fungus thing that takes over people, and they're trying to get everyone to safety and to the quarantine zones. Well, ultimately, you find out that they didn't make it. So this one guy is clearly distrusting of the government, and he comes across as like a gun-toting good old boy, and it's played by Nick Offerman. And this guy is hiding in his basement from all these people and watching them with his, crazy arsenal of weapons that you can kind of see in the background. And then he's staring at everyone on cameras because he has security cameras all over the place. And then they all leave, and slowly but surely you watch this man just do what he wants. That's it. He is left alone in isolation, and nothing fucking bothers him for years. And it's crazy because you just kind of watch him do his own thing, and he's cool with it, and he takes care of things and cleans up some of the area around him and builds this fence and has all the security. And it's kind of fascinating because you look at him and you're like, well, shit, maybe he did have the right idea here. And then one day, in one of his traps, he has this hole that he has dug, and of course has stuff hiding it, and someone falls in, and it's a person, not just a zombified thing, but an actual person. And he's stuck, and he's like, listen, I was traveling with people, I'm alone, I'm just hungry, blah, blah, blah. And ultimately, instead of shooting the guy and not taking any chances, Nick Offerman's character lets him in, and they start a life together, and it turns out that Nick Offerman's character is actually a gay man who has never been with another man. And they live together happily for 20 years. They eventually work into this story how this ties into the main character, Joel, and his former partner in crime and romantic partner, and why they're relevant. And at some point Joel says to Nick Offerman's character, there's going to be trouble here at some point, and it's going to be raiders. They're going to come at night, and you need to be ready. And he's like, yeah, I can handle my own shit, and it does end up happening, and they survive it, and they just keep going, and I just don't. It's a beautiful, beautiful story, and it literally goes through the full lifespan of these two men living together and slowly expanding their space and making some friends and letting these people in. And, they primarily live alone together, but they still have one another. And Nick Offerman's character his name is Bill. The man that he is in love with ends up, I think he had like a degenerative disease of some kind. But it's essentially getting to the point where his partner, his name's Frank, Frank is dying, and he goes, listen, I have limited mobility. I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. It's time for me to say goodbye. So he goes, I want to have the best day ever. And when they first met and they first ate together, Bill, Nick Offerman's character, had roasted a rabbit and made vegetables, and like that's how he ate every night. And like this guy had been living, in the woods and on the run, so probably hadn't had a decent meal in weeks, months, or years. And like Frank says to him, I want the first meal we ever had together. I want to pair it with great wine, and I want you to take a bunch of these pills and grind them up and put them in my wine, and then I'm going to drink it, and we're going to go to bed together, and I'm going to die peacefully in your arms. And like, Bill's like, yeah, okay, sure, yeah, I'm going to do this. And it's not like a casual, like, he's emotional, he cries, he's a wreck, he's like, I don't think I can do this. And he's like, yes, you can. You're going to do this because you love me, and this is what I'm asking you for, and you always take care of me, and we take care of each other. And at the end of it all, they go together. So Bill says, you are my life. And Frank says, well, you are mine and you are my purpose. And they both take the pills. And then they just quietly go into a bedroom and they close the door. And then the main character, Joel, comes through with Ellie, and they find a note. And it basically says like, hey, please take whatever you need. We left the window open to keep the house from smelling. Please don't open the door. Let us rest in peace. And that was it. And it was just this like, I don't know, it just felt like a day in the life, but it was this beautiful, peaceful love and relationship. And it was literally the beginning all the way to the end of their timeline in a world where like everything you've seen around them is scary and monstrous and disastrous. And I think, especially as somebody who watched all of The Walking Dead, and I wanted this kind of life for so many of the characters, and they were never able to have it. To see it happen for these two on this show, where it feels like it's very similar and it feels like the stakes are just as high, it was absolutely beautiful. And I had to pause after watching it and just sit with this episode. And I don't remember the last time an episode of television really affected me that way. So I highly recommend, if you do want to watch just a simple episode, there's not really a point where you're dealing with all of the scary stuff. You just have this incredible love story. It's just so odd because it is both out of place and perfectly makes sense with this show. Yeah.
That's amazing, because that's not what the show presents itself to be.
No.
It presents itself as a heartwarming horror story because it's a guy taking care of a child kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I did not, when you were telling me about this, like I did not, like, especially when you see like Nick Offerman's history is not that kind of story. Like that's not what I expected. And then, I mean, it sounds like beautiful. And I would not expect to say that about, this, in essence, zombie show.
And I'm skipping over some things because I would like to leave some of the story to anybody who wants to watch it. But I mean, I'm telling you, like, not only did it make me stop and go like, wow, did I judge these two? Like, holy shit. But it because like I said, Bill initially comes off as a good old boy. He comes across as this, like, there's no other way to put it. And he ends up with this, like, very, like, sweet, loving partner who softens him in just the right ways. And I just, like, I I just don't know why something like this is allowed to exist in this world, but I'm so glad that it does. And Nick Offerman was incredible. And so his opposite, I looked him up because I couldn't remember his name. His name's Murray Bartlett. I don't know if you guys know him from anything. So I only know him from this. But when I looked him up, like he was on a couple things, but I haven't seen him on a lot. And he was beautiful in this role. It was just, oh my God. Yeah.
I have heard a lot made of this, especially this episode when this season actually aired.
Yeah.
But it's nice to hear a little bit more about it in detail and what made it, because all we hear is like, oh my God, this Nick Offerman episode like blew my mind or whatever, and I got a kind of loose idea of what it's about, but it's nice to hear in a little bit more detail what made it so special.
It's the humanity of it. Really, it was just celebrating connection and humanity, and what can happen when you let someone in, and what it looks like when you want to say goodbye together. And I only hope that Evan and I get to a place where we do that. It was
relationship goals. Last of Us, Nick Offerman.
Yeah, I mean, just the way that they love each other so thoroughly, and they have their moments, of course, but and then at the end, the way they go together, there was just something about it. Their performances were spectacular, and they reached me on a deep emotional level that I did not anticipate.
So I'm looking at the credits for the actor what did you say? Murray Bartlett?
Yeah, he was in a show called The White Lotus. Did you guys ever watch that or know about that?
No. I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
But he is a soap opera guy. Guiding Light, 257 episodes.
Yeah, but I was trying to look for more mainstream, because he's Australian, so I didn't think, I thought that he was...
Yeah, I didn't see anything like that stood out to me.
Yeah.
So,
but
nice.
Thanks for letting me speak to that piece. I know that I'm very late to this trend of watching these video game shows, but I didn't hear anything about it, and I had no idea. And I love Nick Offerman, and I I respect him even more for his performance in this role.
Nice. Oofa.
Oh, yeah.
He was also in Iron Fist. That's why we don't know him.
Happy Pride. Yeah, anyway. Fuck, you know how I feel about that. Let's move on.
I know. I'm aware.
Listen, season 2 was good.
Yeah,
I will die on this hill.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, sure.
Whatever. Sure. Kris,
all right.
Your turn.
Well, let's wrap things up. If you don't like Star Wars, take a nap.
For what?
No. He was going to talk about...
right. I forgot that we're not
something else.
talking about Star Wars.
I mean, he can't help it.
Okay,
He's going to.
The last episode that I was recording with you people instead of watching a brand new Star Wars show that was debuted.
Mildly hurtful.
And
You people,
I've been watching that Star Wars show, and it's wonderful. However, I have a lot of thoughts on it. I just want to say a few things about it because there are a couple of episodes left, and I want to make my current predictions publicly and then talk about how wrong I am next time.
Okay.
But yes, the show is called The Acolyte. The internet hates this show. I just utterly despises this show. It's woke nonsense with lesbian witches. It's just the worst thing that's ever happened. Some G4 personality is hosting some sort of gigantic funeral for Star Wars because the franchise is officially dead now, and I'm sure he's not going to make any money off of that. The hate campaigns are so aggressive on this one that there are so many review bombs for this that the review score is so just, it doesn't make any sense. This show has more reviews on it than just about any other show in history. It's like this many people aren't organically hating this show. That's just not happening. This is the internet is a bunch of fucking chuckleheads, and they're trying to suck all the fun out of what is legitimately a very good show that has a couple of pretty nasty flaws in it.
Did you see that they're actually, like, they were so aggressive with the review bombing that people were accidentally reviewing a movie with the same name?
Yes, there's a bunch of review bombs for a totally different project called The Acolyte. That
wow, there are 42,000 one-star reviews on IMDb for it.
Yeah, the hate campaign is hysterically misguided. And it's all because, there's a coven of witches, and they're all women, so 2 of them were affectionate towards one another. Gay witches have ruined Star Wars. The lead character is a young black woman. Diversity higher.
Wait a second. It's a gay black witch? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yeah.
There was no way this was going to succeed ever in the Star Wars fandom.
Yeah. But they're all latching on to this fucking nonsense, and none of it makes sense. They're like, all right, so these witches have theoretically created life using the Force. Theoretically. We don't even know that that's what happened. It's just inferred that that's what happened. So naturally, the fandom menace is like, they killed Star Wars by ruining Anakin Skywalker's legacy. What? See, Anakin was the chosen one. The Force conceived Anakin, right? He was an immaculate conception, which was a fucking stupid plot point to begin with that they never did anything with. Regardless,
I didn't remember
the
that.
fact that
I thought he was a twin.
Anakin,
no, he wasn't.
No,
the
Luke
fact
and Leia
that
were
these,
twins.
in Star Wars Episode 1, Qui-Gon was like, "Who was his father?" It's like, there was no father. I carried him. I gave birth. It's like, oh, and then we all just fucking moved on because it was stupid to begin with. But if we're playing that game, in this show, some witches used the Force to create life. And Anakin's existence was the Force itself created him to balance the Force. So those two are not related, okay? One does not undo the other. You're just being dumb. And this is what we're talking about with everything that they've glommed on with this show. It's just been trying to find something to latch onto and say, you have broken Star Wars lore. And it's like, well, have we broken Star Wars lore? Like this character, Ki-Adi-Mundi, who's the big conehead Jedi who had like a cameo appearance in the prequels. Okay. The entire point of that character was to be wrong. Everything he said was fucking wrong. Qui-Gon fights Darth Maul in the desert. He goes and talks to the council. It's like, yo guys, I just fought a Sith Lord. And who says something? Ki-Adi-Mundi is like, no you didn't. The Sith have been extinct for millennia. And Qui-Gon's like, I just did it. I fought him with my hands. I looked at him with my eyeballs. It couldn't have been any more Sith if he was wearing a t-shirt that said, I'm a fucking Sith. And the council is just like, no, I don't think so. You didn't see what you thought you saw. The Sith are extinct. They haven't been around for ages. But we as the audience know that's fucking bullshit because there's 2 Sith on camera right now. So, like, that's Ki-Adi-Mundi's character is pointing out that the Jedi don't know what they're talking about. In episode 2, it was just like, yeah, do you think Count Dooku is behind all this? I think he might be a bad guy. And Ki-Adi-Mundi's just like, he used to be a Jedi. He's got his shit together. There's no way he was involved in this nonsense. He's a fucking Sith Lord. That's the whole point of Ki-Adi-Mundi's character. So when this show comes around and like, oh, there's a Sith in the woods, it's breaking Star Wars canon because Ki-Adi-Mundi said the Sith has been extinct for millennia. It's like, yeah, the point was that he was wrong. That's the point. The Sith have been around. You fucking dolts! Why is this a thing? Oh god, and then they had this whole thing about his birthday because like, oh, he can't be alive here because a trading card from when Star Wars Episode 1 came out said the guy was like 42 years old. You've broken canon. You've destroyed the lore. These people don't know what they're talking about. They have no respect for Star Wars. Fuck this nonsense. Like, no, his age was never actually canon. A fucking trading card in an old book said something about it, but that stuff was not official Star Wars canon. So if they wanted to use this character, they have now established that this alien species can live for X amount of time. Now there's canon. There wasn't before. You fucking dolts.
They just want to hate. Haters gonna hate. Just
They
like
really
Taylor
are.
said.
They just and this most recent episode was so cool. They've really had to stretch to find something to hate, and the hate has been so quiet this week because this last episode was fucking great. You guys aren't going to watch it, so I can go ahead and spoil this. You guys watched The Good Place, right?
Yes.
Jason Mendoza is the fucking bad guy.
Wait,
What?
Yes! And oh my god, this guy, you don't watch any context. Just watch this most recent episode. It's very short. It's a half hour.
Okay.
And just watch this episode and watch this dude kick all of the ass. This guy is an amazing fighter, and he's such an entertaining villain. He has some really, really fucking sick burns.
Okay, but not gonna not be able to hear that voice, no matter what he says.
I know! And it's amazing! It fucking works!
Okay, so I looked him up, like, by his real name.
Manny.
Yeah, because
Manny
I was
Jacinto.
like, I need to look at something that might take me, like, to a place where I can look at him with any level of taking him seriously. My God, that man transforms his look. Like,
Oh,
literally,
he
his
is
whole
fucking
face.
sexy. Let me tell you what. This guy is something else. I was just like, he's been in the show before as like kind of an undercover different character where you look at him like, yeah, he's the guy under the mask. That's totally the bad guy. It's so obvious. I hope it isn't him, because if it is him, that's way too obvious. But then like the mask comes off and I'm like, oh, it's that goofball. And then it doesn't fucking matter because he starts talking and shit is awesome. He is so mean and so not like traditional Star Wars villain mean. He's like really kind of smart about it. Like a kid dies and he kills that kid and the guy's like, she was a kid. And he's like, yeah, you brought her here. It's like, oh, he's got a good point. He's out of line, but he's got a point. Oh, man. Such good stuff. So, all right, here's my thought. Everyone's saying that this guy's a Sith Lord. I don't think he's actually a Sith. I think this is some sort of setup that he's going to be the start of the Knights of Ren. Because there's a point towards the end of the episode where they played a musical motif that was pretty much the same thing as Kylo Ren's theme, and it seemed pretty spot on. And he didn't say he was a Sith. He said, I'm what you Jedi would call a Sith. Okay. So I think it's all misdirect. Or he is a Sith and he's working, but he's not the master, right? This is rule of two. There's always a master and an apprentice. I think his master might be Darth Plagueis, Palpatine's Sith master, right? Because one of the things that everyone was complaining about, the whole, like, the witches use the Force to create life. Well, where do you think Darth Plagueis learned this whole thing from, right? The whole thing, did you ever hear the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise? Like, the whole thing was he was trying to trick Anakin into thinking that this dude, the dark side of the Force, could save Padme. God, the prequels are so fucking stupid. God, they're so bad. And everyone's talking about St. George would never write something like this. Like, have you watched they're so bad. They're so dumb. There's so much stupid shit in these movies. Oh my God. Anyways, that's my prediction. I think that this dude is either a Knight of Ren or he's not the true big bad. Because there's still there's still like, 3 episodes left of this show? And everyone's making up their minds like, they did this, they broke this, they completely ruined everything, but you don't know because they've intentionally not told us everything yet. There's still 3 episodes left where we're going to learn what happened and what actually happened. Anyway, that's my prediction.
So
Go ahead, Evan.
I have a question because my only experience with this show so far has been like the ad campaigns, and I just looked. And Carrie-Anne Moss is only in 2 episodes, and she was all over the ad campaign. Is she not as important as I'm led to believe?
She did.
Wow.
They kill her in episode 1.
Wow.
It's like the beginning of episode 1, and then she shows up in a flashback.
The first chunk of the show is this absolutely outstanding martial arts fight. Like, it is so freaking good. Jedi martial arts fight. It's amazing. And then she gets killed.
Okay.
And that's part of the mystery. You see her in a second episode in a flashback where she's,
yeah, well, so like...
Where she's not dead.
I was led to believe via the ad campaign that she was the acolyte. like that there was going to be nobody else, just
wrong.
her on screen, maybe Morpheus and Neo. But that would be it.
Yeah, right. Like she was a big part of the ad campaign, and then it was definitely a zig instead of zags. Like she died, like knife through the heart, dead. And that was the thing that was like, oh, knives are now more lethal than lightsabers. Like, well, yeah, if you stab someone in the heart, if you put a knife through the human heart,
okay, wait
ain't
a
no
second.
back to tank fixing your axe from that.
Just because a lightsaber exists does not make a knife any less sharp.
Yes, it doesn't make pointy objects not lethal because lightsabers exist. What? She was a Jedi master. She could the kill was actually quite clever, right? She kind of used her confidence against her, and then she didn't know that she had another knife. She threw two knives, one at a civilian that Carrie-Anne Moss caught the knife to save the civilian, but didn't notice that she threw a second knife directly into her heart, and then she fell over dead. And I was like, well, Sabine got run through with a lightsaber in a previous episode, and she lived. Like, well, yeah, she got run through in the stomach. Now, I am not a fan of this trend in Star Wars where they run people through with lightsabers and they live. This has now happened 3 times. Once with Reva, once with the Grand Inquisitor, and once with Sabine. It is a dumb trick. You've got to find some other way of mortally wounding people that's not a lightsaber through your body, because it's one of those things that looks like it's supposed to be lethal, and you've now cheapened that. Mm-hmm. Regardless, I can understand the logic of, like, these people did not get stabbed through the spine like Qui-Gon did. They didn't get stabbed directly in the fucking heart. But still, you're overusing that particular visual. Stop it. You're cheapening it. But that was the whole thing in episode 1. It's like, oh, the knives, this stupid girl with knives has beat a Jedi. Like, well, they just watched the damn show. You saw why it happened. It made sense. You're just mad. Who's mad?
So, can I ask a question?
Yes.
If you're done talking about the show that you're not talking about, you want to talk about the show you are talking about?
Absolutely.
I don't know. We should just call it at that. It's getting late. God.
Shorsey's great. I'm so glad this show came back, and I was so sad this was going to be the last season. Because
it's not.
That's 100% not, but I was sad that it was going to be, because it looked like that's the direction that it was heading.
Okay.
It was... Are you guys caught up on it yet? Yeah. So, like, he's old. He's older than his teammates. He's hurt. And, like, it kept looking like, all right, they're going to wrap this up. And we know that there's other projects in the Letterkenny universe or whatever coming up. I'm thinking, like, all right, what's going to happen with Shoresy? This is making me sad. But then it ended, and it was like... what does it say? Shoresy is over.
This is the end of Shoresy.
No, this is the end of Shoresy part 1. I was like, yes!
Right.
Keep him coming!
So,
God, this show really got me choked up.
Yeah.
This last episode or two were like, this is really serious. This is choking me up. And it's still so goddamn funny.
Mm-hmm.
But man, it's pulling at the heartstrings. It is such a good show.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which way do you think he's going? Is he going coach or is he going correspondent?
I think I just don't know. See, here's the thing. If he's a coach, then what happens to Sanguinet?
Yes.
But also, like, he doesn't want to do commentary.
So this is what I saw. Anytime he's on camera, he's not looking at the camera. He sort of looks off to the side, and he's very good. They made him like very like quick with his interviews. But that's the big thing. What happens with Sanguinet? Like, I could see him getting involved and moving on. But is Sanguinet a good enough coach to be a coach without Shoresy? Like, there's so many questions.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions, and I'm very excited that we're going to get more of them. Because I was really starting to think that we're wrapping it up there at the end, and I was like, I'm not ready for this show to be done. I wasn't ready for Letterkenny to be done, but at least it ran for 14 seasons or whatever nonsense. So I can't be upset with that one. But at the same time, I miss those guys. Yeah. But I was really not ready for Shoresy to be over, and I was so thrilled that it wasn't. And as somebody who enjoys a good inspirational sports-related show like Ted Lasso, I got to say this show has just turned out to be so much more magnificent than I could have hoped. Because when they first announced it, I'm like, really, a Shoresy show? I fucking love that character, but I don't know that I could handle a whole show of him. And they did it. They really knocked it out of the park with this one. I love that show.
Well, and also remember, our introduction to Shoresy on Letterkenny is him, buck naked.
Upside
down.
Washing his balls.
Yeah. And,
yeah.
It's just so funny because then you just said, this show got you choked up, to go from that introduction to everybody knowing, give your balls a tug, to now all of a sudden, we're worried about the fate of this character and what decision he's going to make so he'll be happy. Holy shit, that's a character arc.
Done did good.
And the fact that it feels natural. This isn't out of the blue. It's all... Our attachment to this character is earned. Mm-hmm. Our attachment to every one of these characters is earned. And that is fantastic.
100%.
I am really glad they didn't sabotage his relationship.
Oh, God, yes. I love
yeah,
this too.
I mean, the show is smarter than that, but I'm just glad that it didn't happen because that's what TV does. And Shoresy deserves a good woman.
Yeah.
And I think he's going coach.
Okay.
I don't think he's... But everybody else on the show seems to be pushing him towards commentary because they think he would be great.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know whether I agree with that, but I think that's what the show wants us to think, is that he would be good at commentary. But the fact that Nat is you're going to coach, and I feel like Nat is the person on the team who understands Shoresy.
Because she's always about find a way to contribute.
Yeah.
And him commentating, that's not contributing. That's not where his heart is. He wants this team to succeed. So, and he's been coaching this entire time. Sanguinette's been coaching too, but Shoresy is kind of the heart of what's been motivating these characters. So I hope he winds up in a coaching position.
So good.
Why not both?
He's going to get ejected so many times.
Yeah.
For what? Huh? Yeah, so I think that's a good place for us to take a little break, and then when we come back, we can talk about Dead Boy Detectives. You've been listening to this week's episode. Stick around.
And now, here's a quick look at some of the other original content available now from our partners and Geekade.com.
Have you ever met someone named Alice and thought to yourself, this lunatic needs to be chained up? Well, there's a rock band whose entire musical catalog is dedicated to songs about chaining up people named Alice. They're called Alice in Chains, and everything I just said is a verifiable fact. Actually, it's not. The person who wrote this is a liar, like that Henry Rollins song, which is famously not by Alice in Chains. What is by Alice in Chains, though, is the track list in the newest episode of Turning Tracks. It was Matt's pick, and he chose this fantastic band. Which songs did he choose? And if you're unfamiliar, why should you love this band too? Find out in Turning Tracks episode 20, Alice in Chains.
Next, Oliver Platt. We don't talk enough about Oliver Platt. He's a very tall man. According to IMDb, he's 6'4". That's a tall drink of Platt. You know what else is special about Oliver Platt? He co-starred in a movie called The Imposters that was written, directed, and stars Stanley Tucci. That fella is only 5'8". So when you get him and Oliver Platt standing next to one another, comedy is going to ensue. After all, what's funnier than height differences? Nothing, that's what. Unless, of course, you count the comedy movie both of these fine actors appeared in together. Just how funny is this overlooked gem? Find out in a theater near you, episode 41, The Imposters.
You know, for my money, I think you read that even better than Dan.
Yeah.
Finally, did you know that King Arthur has his own world? That's right, the mascot for the famous flower company, King Arthur, who probably isn't known for anything else in human history besides being named on various bags of flour, has a world. What does that mean? Who can you even ask about such a thing? Why, Greg and Joe from the SNES podcast, that's who. They spend some quality time with this Super NES hidden gem that plays like a cross between Worms and Lemmings. Learn all about it in the SNES podcast, episode 235, King Arthur's World.
For all this and more from us and our partners, be sure to keep your eyes on Geekade.com.
And we're back. Thanks for checking out our commercials. Dead Boy Detectives began as a comic book published by DC Comics' Vertigo imprint in 1993 and 94 as a spin-off of Neil Gaiman's Sandman series. Netflix turned it into a series that debuted in 2024, and from what I hear, made some changes from the source material. The series stars George Rextrew and Jaden Reverie as Edwin and Charles, a pair of ghosts who have forsaken their afterlives to remain in London, solving the problems of other ghosts so they can move on. The show kicks off when the pair meets Crystal Palace, played by Cassius Nelson, a psychic who is being possessed by a nasty demon. Once he's exorcised, Crystal finds her memories are missing and ends up hanging out with our boys, using her powers to guide them to the case of a missing living girl in a small coastal Washington town. The series also features a delightful cast of side characters and a whole bunch more of mysteries to be solved. I'm a Neil Gaiman addict, so obviously I binged the whole series, but before I tell you what I thought, I want to know what you guys thought about it.
I'll chime in. It was okay.
Okay.
It wasn't bad. It didn't wow me. I feel like they did this episode thinking that they weren't going to have an episode 2. They put so much information about the characters that they could have parsed out. I know everything I need to know about everybody, and it felt like shoehorned in. I mean, they
really did front load a lot of exposition into this,
and
yes,
which it wasn't bad. It wasn't the quality was great. The visuals were good. I felt like they could have pacing seems like a weird because it wasn't.
No, it was a pacing thing though, because it just felt like there were moments, to piggyback on what Evan's saying, because I think we had similar feelings about this when we were watching it. And I was surprised because usually, Karen, you know how I am, and I love your picks. And it did feel like at times they were trying to make us care more about what was happening to them than we actually did. Because while they gave us all this backstory, we weren't attached enough yet to have an emotional reaction. It felt like in episode 1 they wanted tears and I was not giving them. The scene when I think it was Edwin yelling, we didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. That to me felt like a very emotional moment, and I feel like they're doing a good job with their performances. I have absolutely no problem with the acting. It was just that's not true. I had some, but the overall, it felt like they were just trying to give us too much to care about, and it made it a little bit harder to connect to the characters than I would have anticipated. Does that seem fair?
Yeah,
babe?
That is fair enough.
Have you guys seen? There was another show on Netflix called Lockwood and Co.
No.
All right, so this show, as I was watching this episode, it was another Netflix show, and I'm like, I feel like I've seen this before, but just like different. And Lockwood and Co. was a book series that Netflix did. It was about kids who hunt ghosts, but they all have each one of them has a special skill set kind of thing, and it felt very similar to this. They paced it differently though. It took me 2 or 3 episodes before I knew everything about everyone. Whilst we were watching this, I'm not mad at the show. Like I'm not engaged enough to say, yeah, let's turn on episode 2 right now, kind of thing. Like I felt like I got, everything from it that I was going to get. So
I have a little bit of a difficult time separating out because I binged the whole series over the course of a couple of weeks. But I do see what you're talking about the. And it's funny to me that you're like, well, they packed a lot into this first episode because there's elements of plot and characters that you haven't even met yet that are like important in this story, which goes a lot of places, and it's very interesting to me. And they're not even in the first episode, so I don't know whether they just maybe needed more episodes or longer episodes or something, but. I can see what you're saying about the pacing. And Chris, what did you think?
I liked it.
Yay!
I thought it was a good time.
He's married to me. He has to like things.
I totally get what you guys are saying. It was pretty chunky, It was just like there's a lot of stuff coming at you, but I rolled with it. Yeah, I was entertained. I wasn't like, man, this shit's amazing. I'm gonna watch this every day for the rest of my life. But I'd watch more of it. It was a little clunky in the amount of setup, and I follow you on it wanted my tears, and it was not getting. Like that big emotional moment, I didn't really feel anything, but I was not, like, disinterested in the character feeling what was feeling, so I was like, all right.
Yeah,
maybe you should cut this girl some slack, Maybe don't be a dick. She's trying. Stop it.
Like, getting her backstory in the first episode fully made sense to me. These two guys being a crew together for as long as they have, whatever. I understand. I would have paced them out. Show me why I should be invested in this girl, and then we'll move on. It was an hour, and it didn't feel like a long hour or anything. It wasn't like it was drawing it out or anything. It was just, I don't know.
They could have saved a bit more of their backstory for future episodes, but maybe they were limited by an episode count, and they're like, I haven't seen the rest of the season, so maybe they had we got to get this shit out of the way now, kind of a thing. So maybe the pacing issue came from limitations of episode count, which it's possible. Either way, what didn't really bother me, clearly didn't bother me as much as it bothered you guys. It didn't make me want to jump up and down and do cartwheels or anything like that, but nothing does. I'm old. This was, I thought it was a fun show. I thought it was interesting and a neat setup. I thought that everybody had the right degree of chemistry, and I liked it.
Yeah, I would say what you were talking about before, it wasn't going to get tears out of you, but you were still interested and invested in what was happening. I didn't mean to imply that I wasn't. I was just saying, I think I liked the show well enough that I think if I hadn't felt like I was being kind of overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that they were trying to introduce, that I could easily see myself being more attached, because I am interested in the characters and I do want to know more about them. I just didn't want to know all of it at once. It's I don't know, it almost feels like you go on a first date and the person tells you everything you need to know on the first date, and it's not exciting on the second date because you've learned everything. I was almost getting a vibe like that. It's not that it was bad, it's just oh, there's so much that now I don't know where to go from here. And I'm getting through that first episode, that was kind of I was very where is this going to go next? And I know pilots are not always...
But I was just going to say that, as we were watching it, I was thinking maybe this is suffering from pilot's disease for me. But it's not. It's Netflix. They dumped them all at the same time. That show.
Yeah, but it's still the first episode. It could still be that.
I mean, it's possible. Yeah.
Just because you're not waiting, it's not like most shows we watch aren't The Acolyte's done. They're not still filming that shit because there's 3 episodes left. It's just they're not still putting it together. It works the same basically.
And what I mean by that is that they knew going out that they were going to have 8 episodes or whatever episodes for the first season. That's what I mean about by pilot's disease, where back before they didn't know if they were going to get a full 13 or 20, whatever episodes they were going to get. So
True, you never know how many episodes will actually air, even if you have filmed
right
at a time. So you gotta kind of.
It was just a choice that they made for the first episode to get maybe that's the choice that they made to get you familiarized with these characters so that they can build others, and which is what Karen seems to be saying is like there are other characters that we're introduced to throughout the show that they go deeper on. So I don't know, but the witch was cool. She was badass.
The witch is great. She continues throughout the whole series. Since I watched the whole thing, it's hard for me to I wanted to pick maybe a different episode that had more things in it that I liked a little more, but with how much mythology is in the show, there was nothing to do pick the first episode.
Right.
But the downside of that is that you guys only got the tiniest little taste of Ruthie freaking Connell.
Yeah.
Oh, she's so good.
I think she has a pact with the devil because she has not aged at all.
Honey, she was the night nurse, the one who's like the lost. At the end, she shows up and she's like, "Oh, I found these lost boys." She was a major character in Supernatural.
It's Crowder's mom.
And she's not the same character, but the personality of the character is very similar to Rowena.
Not gonna lie, I don't know how good of an actress she is because I think she's just playing herself in both of these roles.
Yeah, I did get initially a little bit. Evan and I joked about this, but just a tiny bit of a vibe of I feel like it's trying to be a little bit supernaturally. Even Death, there was a Reaper character in the later seasons who just looks kind of similar, has a similar outfit, and she's just I don't know, it was one of those things.
She was quiet.
Her demeanor was similar, and also, listen, she's a black woman. She had a similar hairstyle as well in that episode. It almost felt like it could have been a nod to the other character, Billy. And it was just at first Evan was like, "Is that the same actress?" And because we haven't seen it in so long, but the look was so close. So that was kind of funny. It almost felt like there was a nod there, and of course I know that there isn't, but you love one thing and watch it so often that you start seeing it in other things.
It's definitely giving some Supernatural vibes. I also heard other people say, which I agree with, that there's and it's not so much in this one as it is further on in the season, giving some Buffy vibes. Okay. There's a Scooby gang, and they solve different mysteries every week. That actress who plays Death is actually the one connection between this show and the Sandman show. It's the same actress that plays Death in that show. And
I wondered because of that she had the symbol. I hadn't watched Sandman yet, so
that's right, honey. It was an Ankh.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was misremembering.
I'm now looking at my notes and going, this first episode had a hard job of unpacking the rules of this world, but it does get a lot less exposition heavy, and all the supernatural stuff is so good. There's this has a good amount of creepy but funny, snarky but heartwarming. It balances those things really nicely, because I'm me, I'm a scaredy cat. I don't really watch anything horror.
Mm-hmm.
There is a creature, there's some really messed up shit in some of these episodes. I mean, obviously there's a little girl who's being kept around to feed a snake. But there's a creature in one of these episodes that comes out of hell to abduct one of the characters, and it is a spider made out of baby doll heads.
No. Nope.
No way.
And when you look at this thing on screen, you're like, holy shit, that's a nightmare.
Absolutely not.
Nope.
That's ridiculous.
I will give it that the show's visually was very, very engaging. The parts that go supernatural, when they go through the cabinetry and he ends up in that other place. Like, you feel like it's a different world where she's telling her backstory with the demon. Like, you feel like it's as if it was a different show, the way they visually display it. They do a good job with this show, like, cinematically. I will say that I can't pronounce his name, but his first name is Andre, who played the voice of the gray cat. Phenomenal job. I felt like he embodied the cat completely.
He had strong asshole energy.
Very much so.
That's another unfortunate thing about having to pick the first episode, is that it doesn't feature what ended up being a favorite character of mine, is the Cat King.
Awesome.
There is like a character who is the king of the cats, and he ends up, the whole season takes place in this small town, because one of the two dead boy detectives ends up trapped by magic because of the Cat King.
Oh, they stay in America?
Yeah, they stay in America the whole season.
Oh, gotcha.
Wow.
And they, they're still dealing with Esther the witch, and the crow is a whole character.
I knew that was going to happen. He yelled at that crow too much and then tried to make friends with it in, like, the next beat.
My favorite,
Everybody
though,
likes
is when
me.
she yells at the crow when she's like, I'm trying to yell at these boys.
It has a good sense of humor about itself.
Yeah.
And you'll also see more of the landlady, Jenny, and the other roommate across the hall, Nico, both become significant characters in the show as well, and they add their own particular spices to everything. It really is a fun show. Like, I get what you're saying, what you guys are saying, and I understand that you didn't like hate it. And I'm not trying to necessarily sell you on it. I'm just saying, like, I had a little bit of reservations when I watched the first one too the first time. But I was sort of in a place of like, but I really love Neil Gaiman and I kind of like this. And so I was like, and I'm like, I don't have anything else to watch and I really wanted to watch this show. So I'm gonna try one more episode, and then I was in. So I think what I'm saying more to our listeners than anything else is that if you watch this and you watch the first one and you're like, I don't know, just give it one more. Give it one more, and then you'll be like, okay, I'm in.
That's perfect.
There's so much more I want to say and don't want to say because I don't want to ruin anything. But there's so much more to the show.
Well, that's
it's
actually,
really fun.
To your point, how I planned to go about this was I thought I might give it another episode and see, because like I said, sometimes it just, happens that way. And I didn't dislike it. It's not like the Discovery of Witches stuff where I was like, let me watch this even though I hate it. Like, this is something where I'm like, oh, I like this and I think I'll enjoy it, but I want to make sure if I watch it, like, I'm in a good headspace to watch it, and like, I don't want to put it on just because I'm bored. I want to put it on because, like, I'm genuinely curious and I want to, like, take it in and make sure that, I don't want to be drawing while I'm watching it, like that kind of stuff. But I'm not opposed to it. I'm also just not in a place right now where I'm having a lot of TV time, but I will definitely give it at least one more episode before I draw a final conclusion.
I do have one other question about this, because I'm coming at it from a different perspective again, and I've seen all of the episodes and you guys haven't. Does this show come off in the first episode as aggressively queer?
Not aggressively, but it does come off as
somewhat gay,
adjacent. Like I
queer
I don't
adjacent.
Like it's I feel that there's the possibility that it will go down that path.
Between the two main characters?
Between the two main characters, between her, the
and the anime chick?
And the anime chick.
She literally saw, like, rainbows? The downstairs
hatchet-wielding girl. Like, they are leading me towards this being a queer world. And I'm not bothered by that. It's not aggressive, though, like you were saying Doctor Who was. There was no sign at the beginning saying, buckle the fuck up, we're going for a ride. So
yeah, I consume a lot of queer content. And so whereas Kris was saying, like, Doctor Who's aggressively queer, I was like, I don't know, it just is like regular gay to me. Like a lot of other things but I'm like, I read gay romance sometimes, and it's just in my sphere. And so when he was saying that, I was like, I don't know if I'm like, is my meter like a little calibrated a little off or what? So that's why
here's a question
Gaydar is broken
for you.
I mean, there weren't any previous Doctor Who episodes where they spent like 5 solid minutes of him just like, fuck it, I'm sweaty dancing in a gay bar, and I'm just gonna do this shit for minutes. And then, like, they introduce another character, and, like, within seconds, they're like, these are my fucking pronouns. I don't care that I'm an interdimensional being. Get that shit right. It was very aggressive about, like, no, I am queer as fuck, and you will respect it or get the fuck out of here. That's all.
Okay.
It
so
seemed
no, I didn't
really
feel that way
aggressive
about this show.
Angie, were you about to say something?
No, I didn't. I feel like my gaydar is broken. I didn't feel like it was too much one way or another. I don't know. I guess I'm always looking at it from that lens. I'm like, oh man, these two could have chemistry. Like, just as a person.
So for me, as I'm watching a show, if it's important to the story, then it's I don't notice it. Okay, like if I was, like RuPaul's Drag Race and that kind of stuff, like that's supposed to be the way it is. Like that doesn't bother me. When they start doing things for the sake of making sure that those boxes are checked, that's when it starts to bother me.
This didn't feel like that, though.
This did not feel that way. But the way Kris is talking about Doctor Who, I feel like that is in line with the box checking, where it's not like fluid with the story. It stops the story to make a point to then move the story past it. And if that scene didn't happen or what, like it wasn't pertinent to the story. I feel that this show, at a certain point, the story will involve some sort of queer storyline, and whether it's her with the neighbor, with the two ghosts, like one having feelings for the other one, because that's where I'm like, hold on, I don't remember the 80s one, like the with the leather jacket looking one. He said to the more prim one at least 4 times, we're friends kind of thing. And, like you're my best friend. And I felt like that was pushing. I don't want to say pushing. It was part of the show that at a certain point later on down the line, that's going to become important. If that makes sense.
It does make sense. I was just, I guess, calibrating my gaydar.
Yeah, nothing about this one felt unnatural. And when I say aggressive, and I talk about how it was so in your face in Doctor Who, is it just smelled like, nah, we're hip, we're cool, this is what the young kids are into. Look we're on top of this shit. Whereas this show, Dead Boy Detectives, handled everything, just felt organic. Mm-hmm. That's the difference. What I'm talking about.
It was organically queer.
Exactly. Things can be as queer as they fucking need to be, as long as you just treat it like it's the natural order. Like this is just naturally the way things are. Mm-hmm. Whereas it really felt like Doctor Who was making a very specific point to say, this, see, we get it. We're allies. Look how fucking gay we are. And it's like, all right, cool, but you could just like have that just be it, you don't need to come out there and be like, look how fucking heterosexual I was last season. Like, just let it be and tell your story. And when you're going that far out of your way to just, like, really make sure everyone knows how fucking gay you are, like, okay, settle down. Like, maybe that doesn't need to be in this show. And, yeah, that's what I mean by aggressively queer. It was being a little too in your face about it. Like, no, we're cool. We're what the young people pay attention to now.
That's what
Trust
I call
me.
Box checking. Like they're doing
Yes,
a thing
box checking.
for not for story points, for I don't know, the
Culture points.
culture
points. Yeah.
if that's even.
And it doesn't need it. It doesn't need it. Like Doctor Who, it can just naturally be that. They could have just left out all the like super hyper, like look how queer we are things, and they could have just let that go and just let it be organic and not treat it like it's this huge thing, and just let it be organic. And that would have, I feel like that would have been more effective, but that's a show for a different show. To answer your question, no, this show seemed very organic. It all seemed to work just fine for me.
All right, then. Well, I'm glad that it was enjoyed by some and tolerated by others. I will call it a win. Angie, let me know how you feel after you watch a second episode.
Hell yeah. I'm not out yet. I'm in.
I'll watch it. I'll watch it with you. I mean, I'm not giving up on it. You know.
I think you guys will enjoy the the problem of the second episode. Brings in some recurring characters that stick around through the rest of the series in a really kind of funny way.
Cool.
All right. Well, I think that is it for Dead Boy Detectives. Christopher,
See,
are you prepared?
I am prepared to let you know that this week's episode is not filmed before a live studio audience, but is fueled by feedback from listeners like you, and you can get in touch with us in a multitude of ways. We have an official Geekade Discord where there's an entire This Week's Episode channel dedicated to all things TV talk, and of course the regular Geekade social media accounts linked to in the show notes. The four of us can be found in various ways. You can read my work at StoneAgeGamer.com and in the pages of Nintendo Force magazine. Karen, where can people find you?
They can find me at STM Stitches on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Etsy.
Angie, what about you?
They can find me on my website, www.angelafernot.com.
And Evan, where can they find you?
Check us out at talesofcapefear.com. By the time this episode airs, we will have completed our second Kickstarter successfully.
Yeah.
Woo!
So I'm
Congrats.
very, very proud of my wife. She did a phenomenal job.
I had some great helpers, but thank you.
If you need to know more about the shows we discussed tonight or what we'll be watching in the future, have a look at our show notes. If you have any other questions at all, we can always be reached at mail@geekade.com. Just include the words of this week's episode in the subject line so we know who the heck you're trying to reach. This show is available anywhere fine podcasts are sold, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and more. And wherever you decide to listen, please like, comment, subscribe, leave reviews, because any and all feedback is welcome and appreciated. Again, as always, keep your eyes on geekade.com for more fresh, original content. And I did want to say one more thing before we leave. I jumped back into this wonderful YouTube show. I think I mentioned it on the show before. It's called Knickknacks. It's somebody who's going show by show through Nickelodeon's entire history.
Yes.
And it is absolutely fascinating. It's so very well done. It's called Knickknacks. I just got past You Can't Do That on Television, which was really, really quite an episode, learning about the history of that show. It is so very interesting. And the show's existence is causing previously lost media to be rediscovered, which has been extremely fun to watch. I still have a ton of episodes to go through, but if you're interested in television history, this is a fascinating look at the history of the Nickelodeon channel, all the way back to its inception in, I want to say, 1979? 78, 79? Either way, it's super awesome. Check it out. Karen, back to you.
Thanks, honey. I did a really good job of keeping track and making sure that I knew when it was my turn, but I did not do a good job of keeping track of making sure I knew whose turn is next. I think it's Angie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, Angie. So what do you got for us, babe?
Buckle up, nerds. We're watching Avatar, the live-action series. So
Here we go.
I'm going to say, because I tend to be the lowest common denominator here as far as, like, how many
Speed.
episodes we should watch. So I'm going to say if we can get through the first 2 episodes, I would like to. I don't want to do just one. I want to get through 2.
So you haven't watched it yet?
Nope.
I have. I've watched the first episode sort of. It was back in February, like right when it was airing. I was visiting family, and my brother and I were like, let's fucking go. However, we did that at 11 o'clock at night when we were both really tired and we kept falling asleep. So I think he made it through the first 2 episodes, and then I had texted Evan, and he was like, I want to watch this with you.
Stop.
So, yeah.
How many
So it
episodes
was a
are
telegram.
there?
Yes.
Actually.
There were 8 episodes.
you.
The first one is called Aang. The second one is called Warriors. And I know that there are significant differences. I don't want to tackle this from a perspective of like being ready to hate everything. I will share that I already had an issue going into the show. As we watch this, I had an issue with Iroh. I did not like the performance. I thought the actor was great, but his cadence was not good. So, like,
Save it.
That's the thing is I'm just trying to say be prepared that, like, you know, it's not all the same, but it doesn't mean that it's all bad.
Well, we will discuss it next time, the first 2 episodes at least. Chris and I have made it through the whole thing, so if you find you're able to get further and you want to discuss more than the first 2, let us know, and we'll just make sure we're refreshed up to where you are.
Yay! Okay, I love it.
So that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode. Thank you so much. I have been your host. I'm Karen.
I'm Angie.
I'm Evan.
My favorite character is Ong.
I hate you.
Get out of my house. Good night.
And this concludes our broadcast day.